C's Guest was the embodiment of effortless elegance, a blue-blooded beauty descended from Boston Brahmins, the wife of Winston Churchill's distant cousin, and most famously, one of Truman Capote's legendary swans. Capote's swans were not merely socialites. They were icons, a rarefied group of women who epitomized wealth, grace, and an almost unattainable aura of perfection. Among them were Babe Paley, Radziwill, Slim Keith, Anne Woodward, Gloria Guinness, Marella Agnelli, and Pamela Harriman. Despite their differences in background, personality, and personal scandals, these women shared common traits. They were all breathtakingly wealthy, moving effortlessly among the aristocracy and jet set of Europe and America. They graced the pages of Vogue and Harper's Bazaar, earning perennial spots on the international best-dressed lists. Their polished aesthetic, exquisite yet seemingly effortless, became the blueprint for generations of socialites to come. In many ways, they were the original influencers, dictating the codes of high society and establishing the enduring allure of the old money aesthetic that remains coveted to this day. Today, we will explore the life of CZ Guest, the high society icon who redefined American elegance. Before we start, please support my channel by clicking like and subscribe buttons. Born on February 19, 1920, as Lucy Douglas Cochrane, CZ Guest came from a lineage of Boston Brahmins, an elite family steeped in old money and tradition. One of 5 children, she was affectionately called Sissy by her brother, a childhood nickname she later transformed into the chic and enigmatic moniker CZ. Even as a child, Guest displayed an early fascination with nature and equestrian pursuits. At her family's Beacon Hill home, she would trail behind the gardener, absorbing the rhythms of horticulture, an interest that would become a lifelong passion. From the age of 6, she trained with champion riders and competed in national horse shows, mastering the poised elegance that would define her public image. Privately educated by tutors, Guest was known for her impeccable manners, but maintained a cool, almost reserved demeanor. She completed her formal schooling at the Fermata School in South Carolina before stepping onto the grand stage of society. Her debut in 1937, held at the family's Beacon Hill mansion, was a glittering affair with a Parisian theme, and she wore a gown by Lanvin, a moment reminiscent of her fellow Bostonian swan, Babe Paley's debut 3 years earlier. The stunning blonde quickly became a fixture in the New England social scene, capturing attention not just for her aristocratic lineage, but for her effortless glamour. In 1939, she was crowned Glamour Girl of the Massachusetts North Shore, a title befitting her poised beauty. 4 years later, in 1943, she appeared in Vogue, draped in a dramatic black tulle gown, her first of many appearances in the magazine that would immortalize her style. Encouraged by her growing recognition, Guest flirted with the idea of an entertainment career, making several stage appearances as a showgirl. This ambition carried her to Hollywood, where she landed a 7-year contract with 20th Century Fox. However, her cinematic aspirations proved fleeting, as she spent just 6 months as a student at the studio's training school before stepping away from the industry. Looking back on her Hollywood interlude, Guest would later quip, "My ambition was to be a successful enough actress to get myself thrown out of the social register. I had no talent at all, but I enjoyed every minute of my experience." It was a sentiment characteristic of her, self-deprecating yet utterly self-assured, a woman who moved effortlessly between high society and the wider world, leaving an indelible mark wherever she went. After her brief dalliance with Hollywood, CZ Guest embarked on a journey to Mexico. a trip that would leave an indelible mark on her life. Immersed in the country's rich artistic and cultural scene, she crossed paths with the legendary Diego Rivera, who was so captivated by her striking beauty that he painted her nude. Guest would later recall the experience with characteristic nonchalance, saying, "He was very nice, and I became famous." This moment was just the beginning of her lifelong connection with art. Throughout the years, she became a muse for renowned artists, including Salvador Dali, Kenneth Paul Bloch, and Andy Warhol. Her image was also immortalized in the glamorous society photographs of slim Aarons, who captured her effortless elegance amid the world of privilege she inhabited. Despite her forays into the worlds of theater and art, those closest to Guest knew that what she truly desired was a life built around stability, horses, and an advantageous marriage. Unlike many of her fellow swans, who were known for multiple marriages and affairs, Guest married only once, but in a match that was as socially enviable as it was passionate. In 1944, she met Winston Frederick Churchill Guest, a devastatingly handsome polo player, heir to the Phipps steel fortune, and a distant cousin of Winston Churchill. "I was absolutely crazy about him," she later admitted. "My God, he was devastating." Their wedding, held in 1947, was nothing short of legendary, hosted at the Havana estate of none other than Ernest Hemingway, who served as the best man. Bonded by their mutual love of horses, the Guests established a life centered around equestrian pursuits, owning prestigious racing stables in Middleburg, Virginia, and Chantilly, France. C's herself was a formidable competitor at elite horse shows, all while maintaining her place at the pinnacle of high society. She seamlessly balanced her passions with a glittering social life, famously reenacting the King and I's Shall We Dance scene with Yul Brynner at a private party in 1953. Her marriage to Winston Guest, whose Anglo-American lineage provided strong connections to both British and American aristocracy, opened doors to royal circles. The Duke and Duchess of Windsor were particularly close friends and even served as godparents to her 2 children. The Guests divided their time between their estate in Old Westbury, Long Island, where they indulged in their shared love of gardening and horses, and their Palm Beach residence, which placed them at the heart of America's most elite social scene. Yet despite her privileged existence, C.Z. Guest never conformed to the era's expectation of ostentatious femininity. Unlike her contemporaries, who embraced elaborate couture and intricate coiffures, she cultivated a distinctly understated style, one that was effortless, practical, and perfectly suited to her equestrian lifestyle. Favoring crisp tailoring over excessive embellishment, she embraced an outdoorsy yet elegant aesthetic that set her apart. Fashion critic John Fairchild summed up her singular style in The Fashionable Savages, writing, "She looks best wearing something so simple another lady wouldn't dare." Many women make their grand entrance at Lincoln Center looking like exotic orchids dipped in diamonds and paint, while Mrs. Guest walks briskly down the aisle in a pale cream cardigan suit. In a world where wealth often demanded opulence, C.Z. Guest reigned with an unshakable confidence in the power of simplicity. In 1962, C.Z. Guest graced the cover of Time magazine, impeccably clad in riding attire beneath the bold headline, "A legend in her own time." It was a fitting tribute to a woman who had come to embody a rarefied blend of elegance, athleticism, and effortless style. One of many magazine covers that would feature her striking features and enviable lifestyle, it cemented her status as an icon. Admired for her natural beauty, poised demeanor, and impeccable taste, she was the epitome of cool, so much so that Truman Capote famously referred to her as his cool vanilla lady. Yet, unlike many of his other swans, CZ treaded carefully in her relationship with the mercurial writer, a decision that would ultimately prove wise. In 1975, Capote detonated a literary time bomb with La Côte Basque, 1965, a scandalous Esquire excerpt from his unfinished novel, Answered Prayers. In it, he betrayed the secrets of the social elite, women who had once considered him a confidant, unveiling their most intimate confessions with the sharp precision of a knife. Capote, perhaps naively, assumed his subjects wouldn't recognize themselves. He was wrong. The fallout was swift and brutal. The women he had so lovingly sculpted into mythical creatures turned their backs on him, ensuring his exile from the very world he had long worshipped. But CZ Guest was never among the casualties. Omitted from Capote's venomous prose, she remained unscathed and, as a result, maintained her relationship with him, unbothered by the wreckage left in his wake. The following year, fate would nudge CZ Guest toward an unexpected new chapter. In 1974, after suffering a riding accident, she found herself temporarily sidelined from the equestrian world she loved. Restless in recovery, she began dispensing gardening advice to friends and family. Small but insightful notes on cultivating beauty from the soil. Encouraged by none other than Diana Vreeland, who saw untapped potential in her musings, Guest transformed her knowledge into a book. With whimsical illustrations by Cecil Beaton and a foreword penned by Capote himself, First Garden marked the beginning of an unlikely yet successful literary career. What began as a passion project soon expanded into a weekly syndicated column, Around the Garden, which reached readers in 350 newspapers. She later authored a children's book, further solidifying her role as an authority on horticulture. When she passed away in 2003 at the age of 83 at her home in Old Westbury, CZ Guest left behind not just a legacy of grace, but a lasting influence on American style. Her pared-down aesthetic, crisp, unfussy, and eternally sophisticated, lived on in the collections of designers like Ralph Lauren, Michael Kors, and Oscar de la Renta, each of whom borrowed from her blend of sport and refinement. But perhaps more importantly, she left behind words, columns, books, and anecdotes that reflected her unwavering belief in beauty, order, and the art of living well. That's it for today. Thanks for watching. Please do not forget to support my channel by clicking like and subscribe buttons.